I want to ask you, first of all, whether you think or believe President Trump should be impeached in these last days in office.
I think it would be important to have this president step down from the office of the presidency based on his actions during this last week in inciting a mob to take over the Capitol of the United States and basically violating his oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution. Will that happen? It's going to be very difficult, either operating with the 25th Amendment or even impeachment to actually accomplish that effort. But at the same time, perhaps it might send a signal to this president that it might not be a bad idea to resign soon, allow Vice President Pence to take over so that we could have some sense of confidence that we aren't going to see a repeat of what we saw this last week.
Well, how concerned are you about that? Obviously, the president has now said he doesn't plan to attend the inauguration. How worried are you about security at the inauguration on that day itself?
Well, I'm very worried based on what we saw happen this last Wednesday. I mean, the fact is that that there was very poor planning in terms of the security of the Capitol, and it broke down very quickly. Now, I'm sure that they're going to try to take steps to make sure that doesn't happen, but it raises questions about whether or not the security that's established for the inauguration itself will indeed be sufficient to protect against these kinds of activities. So, yeah, I'm concerned about whether or not we'll have proper security in place so that what we saw happen on Wednesday will never happen again.
How shocked were you, as someone who has been directly involved in defense and intelligence for so many years? How shocked were you that A, that it happened at all, and as you point out, that B, there didn't seem to be preparation for this kind of thing, even though there had been lots of talk online that this was going to happen?
We all knew this was going to happen, and we all knew that these groups that were gathering were extremist groups that could cause tremendous violence. So I'm shocked that recognizing those facts, that steps were not taken to ensure that there was a tight circle of security around the Capitol of the United States and a sufficient force to be able to withstand the attack that took place. That's tragic. We paid a horrible price for that. It really is probably the worst crisis we have had with regards to our democracy and the functioning of our democracy since the Civil War. And to have that happen, I think, has told us how fragile our democracy is.
Well, talk to me a little bit about that, because I'm sure as a former congressman, you could very much relate to the people in that room that day or who were hiding in their offices. How worried are you about the ongoing sort of permanent damage to democracy in your country?
Well, I worry that the events of last Wednesday, where a mob took over the Capitol of the United States, that there are going to be groups, extremist groups in this country, that feel empowered by what they saw take place. It is very important for the authorities in this country to be able to make certain that extreme groups that are out there will not try something similar, either on Inauguration Day or at another moment in our time. It raises a lot of concern about the stability of our democracy when something like that happens. And as a result of that, I think it places even greater responsibility on law enforcement to make sure that it doesn't happen.
In spite of knowing everything we know about the president, everything we've seen over the past 4 years, were you surprised to see him incite those people, to call on them to go to Capitol Hill? What do you make of the president's actions specifically?
Well, this president, since the moment he took office, has raised serious questions about whether or not he was truly committed to protecting and defending our Constitution. From the very beginning, he questioned the United States intelligence as to what it was reporting. He stood next to Vladimir Putin and said that he trusted the intelligence of the Russians more than he trusted our own intelligence. So in case after case, moment after moment, this president has challenged not only our laws, but challenged our Constitution. And we saw it happen the other day when he stood up before that crowd and told them that he would lead the march up to the Capitol and that they were to make clear to those in office that this election had been stolen. He incited that crowd. There's no question that that was the case. And for all of those reasons, it is important that this president, frankly, leave office, remove himself from the presidency, and allow the United States of America to be able to embrace a new administration committed to law and order and committed to our Constitution.
Last question, Secretary Panetta, just on your hopes for the country as you move into a new administration with President-elect Biden, because he's got a lot of work to do too. So what are your hopes for what can happen at a time when the world is in crisis, certainly because of the pandemic?
Yeah, having been around a long time in public life, I don't take anything for granted. I think that things aren't going to suddenly. These challenges that we're facing, these crises we're facing, aren't suddenly going to disappear. But I have great confidence in a new president because I know Joe Biden and I know his commitment to our Constitution and to the laws of our country and to the values of honesty and truth. He is somebody who deeply believes in that. And I think that'll help in the healing process. But make no mistake about it, there will be a huge challenge for this next president and for the Congress, members of both the House and the Senate. They are going to have to work together in order to deal with these many challenges that we face at home with the COVID crisis and abroad with a number of dangerous threats that confront us in terms of our national security. This is going to be a moment where the leadership of our country is truly going to be challenged as to whether or not we can heal what's happened over these last 4 years and restore a belief in the strength of our democracy.
Well, Secretary Panetta, your neighboring country is wishing the transition goes smoothly. Thank you so much for your time today, sir. Appreciate it.